Welcome to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I am your host, as always, Jeremy, here trying to make the world seem a little more normal one day at a time. But today, we ain't doing that, so that's off the agenda today already. And to help me make the world less normal as usual is my guest today, Dayna Dunbar, who is an experiencer, which we'll get into that in a bit, but she is also an author of an amazing book that I started reading already, and I hope after everybody hears this, they will do the same. And I'll let her tell I'll let her tell you herself about the book in a little bit as well. But it is called Awake, and it is an amazing sci-fi book that we will get into shortly, featuring some of my listeners' favorite topics. So we'll get into that. But first things first, how you doing tonight, Dana?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Anytime I can get a experience or any experiencer, I'm glad to have on, and an author as well. It just doubles the fun in this. So
yeah, good. Yes.
But I think we're gonna hear about that experience probably with this question I ask everybody at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into the paranormal?
Yeah, I guess I would be that experience. I'm trying to think if there was anything before that, but no, that was just normal. I was just meditating and, doing mindfulness, practices and things like that. So it was, my experience happened in 1994, in the summer of 94. And I went with my new girlfriend at the time drove from San Francisco to Sedona, Arizona, and went camping at a spot that a little hippie friend of mine at work told me about. You drive up 3 miles past the cattle guard on Schnebly Hill Road, and then you park and go up through some mesquite bush, and at the top there's a flat plateau of Red Rock Plateau, and with 360-degree views of the spires, the Red Rock spires in Sedona. And we were up there by ourselves, and there was a medicine wheel already on the property. It was really a beautiful spot. And the first thing that happened was we went to town about 3 days after we got there, and we went to a New Age bookstore, which there are a number of in Sedona. And we did a meditation with this guy. It just happened to be starting when we got there. And it was a normal meditation. And then at the very end, he said, I'm calling in a mothership to come and hover over the building. And we looked at each other because this was not our, in our lane at the time at all. And we just kind of like giggled and looked at each other. And it was like, and he'd written some books about, being an experiencer in Sedona. So we didn't think much of it, when in Rome was what we thought. That's just going to happen. So we went back to the site and the campsite, and the sun started setting, and we saw this very bright light over one of the spires, very low in the ground, and no other stars around at all. And we're like, what was that? And got busy cooking, turned back, and it was gone. So that happened first, and then the sun went down, and we had a campfire going, and I was just looking up at the constellation Scorpio, and points of light in that area began to move, and it was this light orange hue, and it started to move like this in a swimming motion away from us. And it seemed like right as I looked at it is when it started moving. And Chris, my girlfriend, turned and she, saw it, and we were both like, oh my God. And something came through me. I think that there was probably, I know there was something like that was going on with them telepathically, and this was intentional. So I said, I had this opening it just popped out of my mouth. I said, we see you. If you want to communicate, we're here. And this is not something I would have normally done. and it immediately turned around and it started to kind of do this S motion back to us, and it came all the way in front of us, and just right, our chairs are here, campfire here, and just came and hovered right in front of us. I don't know how far away it was. It was quite large at that point. And it looked like light. I couldn't see any material, anything metallic. It was just this light orange hue, and it was a light, and it was a moving lights. And then out of nowhere, I noticed that there were two more that showed up. And they were kind of back behind, like it made this triangle. So the big one here and these other ones here, and they seemed smaller, but I don't know if they were just farther away or if they were actually smaller. But you could tell they weren't, stars, because they weren't there before, but also they weren't ever totally stationary. It was just like this moving kind of feeling. So it felt like big one, and then two could be sentries or something watching the whole thing. And so I got scared, and I said, Chris, they want to talk to you. My girlfriend, because I was like, because she had one time in her life, she had an astral travel experience. She traveled out of her body once and really wanted to do that again. And she was really into it and trying to study it and stuff. And I was like, this is way over my head. You got to do this. So she went out into the medicine wheel, and she laid down, and immediately I saw a light come out of her body and go up to the ship and then come back down like a circuit. Huh. And it was like, and the reason that she went out into the medicine wheel is because earlier that night we had done this really cool thing. We went into the medicine wheel, put on some music, and we're doing this kind of dance and filling the stars and kind of like pulling down the energy. And we just had this lovely experience. So it was felt like the medicine wheel was this powerful place. So
for those who don't know, what is a medicine wheel? Because I must say I don't know myself.
Yeah, right. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's an assumption. So it is from the Native American tradition, and it is made of rocks, usually about this big, and like a size of a cantaloupe, or sometimes bigger. And it's a big circle, and it's made, and it's created to look like a wheel. They made with rocks.
Oh, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's out on this Red Rock Plateau, and it was there when we got there. So, but there was no one around, anywhere around us. So, yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah. I kind of had assumed people know what that is. So it's this round. So she goes out to this, this thing, and she lays down. This light comes out, shoots out of her, and comes back down to her body. And I was like, you be good to her. Like out loud, looking at the ship, and immediately I heard this voice, and it said, "Don't worry, we will." And my mouth dropped open. First of all, that I could hear somebody, answering me, but also I recognized the voice. And in the previous 6 months, I had a totally experience. Just again, I was not one of those kids who had access to like other beings and spiritual experiences, nothing like that. So the meditation I was doing meditation. I had been quite ill, so I started meditating for that reason, and doing acupuncture and alternative types of things because I had been sick. But in the previous 6 months, in my meditation, this energy, this being would show up in front of me and just sit there in front of me. And it was it was an energy, and I couldn't see her. It was definitely a female. And she told me her name was Kaya. But the only thing that she did was she would just sit with me, and it was just like this incredible loving presence. And she would sometimes, it felt like she always wanted to like hold me, and was just so loving with me. And I told a few of my friends, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this happens absolutely consistently every time I meditate. Well, it was her. It was her. It was her voice. And so I said, Kaya, is that you? And she said, yes, it is. And later I realized that she had been kind of preparing me for this experience, because, there's no time and it's not linear to them. And so, I was just completely blown away. And I was like, but there was also this energy, and this is in my book too. I kind of recreate this scene in my book where there was just this kind of calmness that was happening at the same time. Like there was this energy of just deep relaxation and calm, and like any kind of fear, anxiety that would come up, I couldn't like sustain it. And especially after I heard her voice, and I knew her energy, I was like, okay. And then I really relaxed. But there was something there. There was some kind of energy field or something that they had that was emanating. So at the same time, this light's still going up Chris is having this thing go on. I am having this kind of experience with Kaya, and I asked her, like, why are you all here? And she said that they are observing. They're both doing two things. They're observing, and they're actually holding the energy for us to go the right way. Because what they're observing is, which way are we going to go? Are we going to go, toward conscious evolution, or are we going to go down to, and toward kind of extinction and, mass chaos and all of that, devastation and destruction. So she's like, it basically kind of got it across to me that it was like this hot spot in the universe, this very entertaining place to be. And, they were almost like these it was like a sociological, observation going on. And they were very fascinated with us and what's happening here. And she did say that they're not, at that time anyway, and I hope this changes, that they're not going to intervene like directly, and land on the White House lawn or anything like that. And I would love that to change, but she said that's not what they're going to do, but they are holding this light and this energy for us to go in the right direction. So that's all happening. And then we just are sitting in this love, which is what we had done before in the meditations. It was just this incredible love and joy and bliss kind of feeling. So then, then I see the light disappear from Chris, and she gets up and she walks over and she tells me her experience. And she said she went up to this ship in her energy body. I've told this story now because I haven't told it I didn't tell it to hardly anybody till last year when the book came out. And I had to decide if I was going to tell the story or lie about what's your inspiration. So anyway, and I still telling it. I'm like, this is unbelievable. It's like unbelievable. This actually freaking happened to me. So anyway, so she comes over and she tells me that she went into the ship in her light body, and there was a male being there, and we think later we kind of deduced that we think he was wearing some kind of suit, maybe it was some kind of shielding protection or something, so that we think it was probably so that she could handle being in his presence. Because he was very smooth, didn't really featureless, hairless, 3 fingers, didn't have very tall, didn't have he didn't have any real features to him, but she could feel him really profoundly, like I felt Kaya. And he took her by the hand, and it was in this kind of like amphitheater type of place, not a very big one, but a small amphitheater. And at the bottom was a kind of a low stage with kind of a platform at the bottom. And he took her hand and he started walking her down these steps toward that. And she got scared because of the, probes and abductions and, that kind of research and all that kind of stuff that, we all heard of. And so,
Of course.
and she got scared. And so when he felt her getting scared and her like going like contracting, he's like, it's okay. You don't have to go down there. And they just sat on the stairs and had basically the same conversation that I had with Kaya. And that same, she said again, it was mainly this just exchange of incredible amount of like love that is not anything that either of us have ever experienced before or since at the human level. That's just not, there's no equal to it here. And so, so she was just completely blown away, like pinwheels in her eyes. And I said, well, I was kind of in the middle of something with Kaya. And, I told her about my experience and I said, I think I want to finish. I want to go, So I walked out to the medicine wheel and I sat down cross-legged and I said, I looked up and I just said, I'm ready. Like, I want to come up. And she hesitated and I could tell that she was like, kind of like, hold on for just a moment. And that she was consulting with whoever was there with her. And after a few moments, she came back and she said, you can't come up here. And I was like, why not? She got to. And she said it would blow out your energy system, like you couldn't handle it. And so I was like, I was really disappointed. But I'm so grateful she did that because it's true. It would have. Later I was like, there was evidence to prove that. So I said, okay, well, can you come here then? And it was like this big smile in her voice. And she said, yes, I can. And I realized after that, if I had not asked her, she would not have come. So I was really glad that I asked her. She had to be invited. And so immediately I felt her presence more than I'd ever felt it before. And I closed my eyes because that's how I'd always felt her before in meditation, and so I closed my eyes, but then her presence was so strong and so powerful that I opened my eyes and I could see this, I could see her like the slightest amount of like just change in the atmosphere in front of me. But there was also this like filament of light on this side of her face, like it went down and just barely a little bit of her neck. And I was just like squinting, trying to see her, but I could see, just a little bit of energy, because it was dark. And, but the presence was so powerful. It was just incredible. And, so at one point she just wanted to hold me. She treated me like I would treat like a baby snow leopard walking up to me and on a hike in the woods. Like I was just like, oh my God, this is so good. Like how just precious, cherished, totally fascinated, blown away that she was getting to experience this with me in this way. It was so amazing and so much. Of course, I was feeling the same way with her. And then she put her hand out and she put her hand on my shoulder, my left shoulder, and she reached her hand out and she put it on my left shoulder and it actually went into my body. And wow. At that point, my energy field went like this. It was like this. And I said, you can't touch me. And she pulled her hand back. And that's what made me really know, like I just at that time, like what I just was not at a high enough frequency. My energy body, my nervous system could not handle that much, coming into my system. So that happened. And then we're just sitting there in this loving. And that's how it always was with her. Like there wasn't really a lot of talking. The talking was irrelevant, and then probably the coolest thing of the whole night happened. That's the smoke from the campfire came and wafted over her. You good? You got folks?
Yeah.
No
Kids,
worries.
kids,
Yeah. Got the kiddos coming in. No worries.
It's all good. She's just doing something. I don't know what, but but it's all good. We can continue. That's the point of headphones.
Yeah. So the smoke from the fire wafted over
What are you
her
doing, Belle?
form.
Go ahead. Oh. Go ahead. I'm used to listening while she's in the background. Trust me.
The smoke from the fire wafted over her. And so you know how when you have a flashlight and you put it, and you shine the beam into the smoke, it like makes it where it looks solid.
Yeah.
That's what happened with that's what happened with her. It's like she was a light beam, and as smoke coming over, I could see her face, and I could see her neck and her arm and her torso, and it was super cool. Super cool. And then after that, we sat there for a while. I'm not even sure how long. And then I finally said, I guess I should get back to Chris. And she said, yes, you should. And then we, I got up and went over and we watched these ships like they did this. It felt like a show. They put on a show for us until about 3:00 in the morning. We finally crawled into the tent, and because they were like moving and doing all kinds of stuff, popping in and out, doing up and down. I mean, it just like amazing things. And it was just the most magical experience of my life. So
sounds incredible, and so many things I want to touch on. But
and then I got to tell you, and then the next day we went and we went to this beautiful creek and we journaled and wrote down the whole thing. Not that I would. It's funny now, like all these years later, like I would never have forgotten a moment of it. But we wrote the whole thing down, and at that time when I was journaling this out, I got guidance. I started to get guidance from Kaya, like she started to come through me, and she told me that I would one day write about them. And that it would be in story form, that it would be a story like an adventure story kind of thing, like not a nonfiction thing, but something where it would reach, more of a mainstream audience and introduce people to spiritual principles through a really fun and exciting story. So that's what I've finally done with Awake. The Legacy of Akara is my novel, and it's finally out.
Which, I mean, kind of like a myth almost, or like a ancient myth, like because they're not fiction; they are things that really did happen, but they're so long ago that people think they're fiction a lot of time, or people don't understand that it's really reality just a long time ago.
Yeah, well, and there's fictionalized parts to it for sure. It's this civilization isn't fictional. There's totally awakened civilization. That's so the book takes place on this planet Akara, which I don't know if that's the name of the planet, but we named it Akara, my co-author and I, and on Earth. And so it takes place in both. And so it took quite a while to come up with an idea for a really fun story that would is like a geo quest through Mayan ruins and all this, but then it is like about these incredible beings and how they come to Earth to help us out.
Which, from what I talked about with a lot of people, that might not be far from that could be the truth at this point.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of different theories about extraterrestrials on this planet, but most of them point towards the fact that they've been guiding us since the beginning of our people, and that. I mean, I've always been a firm believer in that, honestly, because it explains a lot of things in the ancient world that we can't explain for nothing. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, it really does. I mean, and that's how I came up with the idea. I was at a Mayan exhibit with a guy, who's like a total guy from Arkansas, like almost a hillbilly, a friend of a family member of my girlfriend. And he goes, I said, I wonder how they made all these. And he goes, oh, aliens, and I was like, it's mainstream. This is now mainstream. I'm doing it. I'm writing about this. And that's how it, and then it just started to come to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it's believed nowadays compared to the way it was believed back in the 90s is completely 180'd.
Yes.
I mean, if you talked if I talked about aliens when I was a kid in the 90s, like people look at me like I'm crazy.
Yes.
But nowadays, I can go into any restaurant or store to start a conversation up with somebody, and almost guarantee that they're gonna believe in aliens to some degree. Like
absolutely. Thank God. That's why it's like the timing of this. That's why I didn't tell anybody. I told my closest friends and family, like probably 7 people total. And then because I was like, and then we're like right before the book came out, last summer, the US comes out and even it admits that they're seeing all these ships all over the place. So yeah, it's a totally different era, and I'm really grateful for that.
I mean, I am as well for different reasons, obviously, but it's crazy and it's funny because I've actually talked to other psychics as well about the fact that 2012, what the Mayans may have been predicting was a spiritual awakening, like more of like a destruction of the old way of thinking, more than like destruction of the planet type of thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And and this is true. There was also, in addition to the prophecy of darkness, which is the end of the world, there was a prophecy of light. And that was that if the and this is in my book, if the planet makes it, then there's this whole prophecy of light, and it's beautiful. The language is just beautiful. The whole thing is in the book, and there's a shaman character, a Mayan shaman character, who reads this, the prophecy of light, and she's the aliens come, and she's like, oh, this is the prophecy of light. They've come to bring in the prophecy of light. So yeah, it's I love that part of the book.
I can't say I've ever heard about the prophecy of light before, but that would make more sense if there was more to it than what people than the common beliefs people throw towards 2012.
Right.
But
yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, from what I read of your book, it seems incredible. And you mentioned a system in there that the Arcana is in, and the Euclidean or Euclidean.
The Pleiades. They're in the Pleiades.
Place.
Yeah, they're in the Pleiades. Yeah, and I do think that this Kaya and her people are from the Pleiades. I do. That kind of was one of the many downloads that I got after this experience. I started to have all these incredible downloads that went into the novel about quantum energy. A lot with using sacred geometry, the shape of a torus, which is kind of a shape of a donut. And it's the primary shape in the universe, from atoms to all the way to the Milky Way galaxy, to the human chakra system, the central channel, and then the aura that goes around. So I got all kinds of information about space travel, quantum travel, going in and out of space-time, unlimited energy. Now, it was really amazing because when I started getting this shape and all these things that were related to it, I did not know what it was called, and I'd never seen one before. And I was telling a friend, a boyfriend of my friend, and he was a very advanced dude, and he told me that's a Taurus. And I was like, there's a name for this. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. And I looked it up, and it is actually like it's what Tesla, the Tesla coil is a Taurus.
Yeah.
All this stuff. It's just amazing. If people look up Orange Theory Taurus, you can see what a Taurus is, and that it has some of the really cool theories about this shape and how profound it is, and how it can actually if we can harness this, that it can actually be a source of unlimited free energy. So that was coming, the education system, economics, healing, quantum healing, which I do now. I do healing. I have a master's in spiritual psychology. I do spiritual counseling, and this work and the energy and the Kaya. I work with her, and she comes through in a subtle way. She's not talking to me as much as I would like.
Yeah, which I mean, it kind of reminds me of a lot of people I talk to who are starseeds or starseed coaches. Like it kind of reminds me of the similarity. I believe that's where I heard of that universe before, even was from them.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So, do you consider yourself a starseed?
You know,
you need to be quiet.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's not something I've ever had, a lot of experience with. Like I know.
It's all good.
Just let her do her thing. It's fine.
Come here. Here. Off the camera? Yeah, okay, good. There. Get a shirt. Right there. Get Yoda's shirt. Get the Batman shirt.
What, Baby Yoda?
Get the pants. Yeah, go get those mommy and put them on.
That's right.
Both. Go put them on now. Yeah. No, I'm on camera. I can't dress you.
What's this?
Pajamas. Go put them on.
What's it on?
Bella, I'm in a podcast. I can't help
Can you
you.
put it on, please?
That's a shirt, Bella. Come on. Shirt on. All right. Yeah. There we go. Put it on. Put it on. All right. Is that Baby Yoda stuffed pants? Sorry about this.
No worries. Keeping it real. Got the kiddos.
All right. And are the Yoda pants? All right. Go tell mommy to get you clothes. No, that's a shirt too. You need pants. Go tell mommy to find your pants. Bella, just go ask mommy.
No.
Yes, all right, well, look for yourself then. I got sure to do. Sorry about that. Kids are just bad timing, always bad timing. But anyway, I didn't hear the answer. But so, do you consider you and your girlfriend at that time possibly starseeds? Because it's been theorized that a lot of people who get abducted or have experiences with UFOs and aliens are starseeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Well, it's interesting. So what's been coming lately, and this is after 20 years, is that, and it's weird for me to say this, honestly, but it's like it's been coming through pretty strongly, is that Kaya is another, we're multidimensional beings, we're interdimensional beings, and I think she is me on another dimension. Is what's kind of been coming in the last, I mean, really recently, and that she's coming through, and the last time she came through was really, really powerfully, and dropped in, like, for the first time, instead of being outside of me, she was like inside of me, like she was like, I felt her inside of me.
Yeah, that makes sense in some ways, because I mean, some people say that with all this other dimensions out there, that, I mean, you talk about astral projection. I know someone who can astral project, and he said that, like, in all these different dimensions, there's other species basically that can sometimes take over human bodies.
Yeah, I mean, and we are living simultaneously all different kinds of lives, not just other incarnations here, but all kinds of lives and dimensions. So it was just, when she came, it was actually inside of me the last time. That was a really big transition, and that was powerful. I couldn't stop crying. I cried because it was so intense. It was so beautiful, and the feeling that I got from her was gratitude. for me, and it was this feeling of gratitude of like, thank you for being here in this density, this dense ass place, and doing this, and that she doesn't have to. It was kind of the feeling.
Those are mommy's pants. Put them back. Tell mommy to find you pants. But I mean, yeah, it's insane too, because that's also kind of ties into my theory on reincarnation, or at least a theory that I put together after being told by multiple mediums what they believe. That basically, when we're reincarnated, our spirits go up to heaven, space, whatever you want to call it, and we basically we go to like a holding cell almost until we're ready to go back into another body, or if we achieved our goal, we go on to a place that no one knows about. No one knows what to call it. It's just another place further beyond.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's accurate. And I think there are many dimensions, and I think we get stuck on this merry-go-round when we, don't evolve, and, but when we do, and we start to open and awaken, then we get to do other things. So, yeah.
Exactly. So what is your theory on reptilians, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't have one. I haven't had any experience with them. And I do know that people have, and people have access to all kinds of stuff. And mine's like really very narrow. It's pretty cool, but it's narrow. And I haven't had any experience outside of this, and just with Kaya, I haven't even met anybody else. Chris did, but it's just really been with her. So I don't know if I want to either. It sounds scary, a lot of that stuff. I get scared so easily. I'm such a wuss. So, but I've read quite a bit about it. I've listened to people interviewed and the abductions. Of course, since I've been talking about this, I've had a lot of people contact me, tell me about their abductions. I just had a woman tell me about hers when she was 14 years old in Argentina. And so, I've heard quite a bit about all kinds of things. And so, man, there is so much more going on than we ever thought when I was growing up. I mean, this stuff was not part of the reality. And now it's just like, wow, man, we are really opened up.
Oh, yeah. There are people who didn't back then, and even in the 90s, there are people that thought Roswell was a complete science fiction dream.
Yeah.
They never would have made it's real, but now almost everybody has an opinion on aliens, and they'll tell you right away what they think of it without even the only people who won't talk about it in public are in the government. Wonder why.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. It's true. Yeah. So I don't have, but I have heard quite a bit of, a lot of stories. I helped a woman edit her book about her abduction and her discovery of it, because she didn't remember it, except, there was all kinds of weird missing time and stuff. And hers was in the North Pole. She was working for the military in some godforsaken base in the, like in the Arctic. And that's where hers happened. And that was a trip. I mean, really. And then she was totally in denial about it. And then she finally, realized that something was up and started to get into it. And then she became an investigator for MUFON. So, yeah, amazing stories.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you said you really don't have an opinion of reptilians, but do you think there's more than one extraterrestrial species out there in space, or do you think it's all the type that you kind of saw?
No, yeah, I think there's more than one. I have a hard time, and I know people are going to be like freaking naive, bleeding heart. I have a hard time believing that there is there are species that are really, really malevolent and dark, and doing horrible, dark things. Now, I know there are stories about that, but what my heart tells me is that in order to survive long enough and not kill each other off, there has to be some sort of conscious evolution. Like if technology gets so far ahead of consciousness, I think the technology ends up causing self-destruction. And so, which is what we're playing with right now. And so, that's just my theory. And it may be Pollyanna. I don't know. I'm humble. But I just, it's really hard for me to think that that there's a malevolent energy that's organized enough and in agreement enough and have enough cohesiveness to, to create technology advanced enough to be here and doing these abductions and things like that.
I mean, you'd hope that that people would evolve enough consciously to not behave like humans do, basically. But
Exactly.
I hate to say it, though. I mean, I feel like there's always yin and yang out there. If there's good, there has to be some bad, and it's just the way it's the way the universe works. And I mean, there's no way that all of them would not develop that technology before they evolve consciously. Like they would just, some of them are going to have the smartest scientists of any in the universe, and they're going to figure it out like way before they should. But
right, yeah,
I mean,
no, I know it's true. It's just the beings that I met. This race of being, they're so powerfully loving and kind, and I mean, it's not even it's impossible to even describe. It sounds so banal, but it's just so profound. And so, yeah, I'm sure that there are that kind of stuff going on. Now, there is this one woman who had this abduction that I helped her edit her book. She did say that she felt like that a lot of the negative experiences that people have with their abductions is because they're because they're afraid. And it's the fear that causes these a lot of this memories, scary memories and things like that. I'm not saying that's all, but that was her theory. She thought that, it wasn't like that there's a lot of aliens around, but that they are, well, by and large, benevolent.
I mean, I could believe that 90% of them are, but there's got to be 10% out there that are just. I mean, maybe the R90 is protecting us from them. I mean,
right.
I'm a huge believer that there has to be some kind of like space UN almost out there of different races that meet. And I'm sure a lot of them agreed a long time ago, leave that backwater planet alone and let's just let it be.
Yeah.
But I mean, but eventually we've been making a lot of progress over the last 50, 60 years. So
yeah. All bets are off. I don't know. Anything could be happening these days. I mean, things have changed so much. I mean, it's just a totally different time and world, and we're in a completely different place energetically, and we're opening to all kinds of new dimensions and stuff. So, to me, it's like there's all the possibilities are out there. But you're right. I would say, like, probably 10%. There's going to be some kind of, assholes, doing what they do, since that's what happens. Like you said, in the universe, there's the full continuum of light and dark. So
this dude is so good at farming.
I mean, yeah, there has to be, but I don't know. I mean, see, it's weird because until I really started looking into it with this podcast, I only ever heard of like the Greys, the reptilians, and the Norse-looking extraterrestrials.
Right.
And then once I started talking to different people on this show, I mean, like I said before, especially starseeds, like that's when I first heard of the P galaxy, I'm gonna call it, because I know I can't pronounce the name, but the Pleiadiad, or maybe
Pleiades.
Pleiades. I don't always want to put C's in there. I don't know why, but yeah, the Pleiades, like that's where I heard that for the first time. Is that because that's where they said they talked to their guides, was from the Pleiades universe. So
right. Yeah, that's high vibration. The Pleiades is very high vibration. You can see it in the sky. It's the Seven Sisters. And it was really cool when I was doing research for Awake. the Seven Sisters constellation, which is the Pleiades, which is also Subaru. That's the name for it in Japanese. That's what it's named. The car company's named after. It's the Pleiades, but it's in Tikal, which is a major Mayan ruin in the jungles of northern Guatemala. The buildings are in the same exact place as the Pleiades. They're built just like the constellation. And I think that points to, pretty direct involvement, from that star cluster of beings.
Highly possible. I mean, a lot of ancient civilizations, I think these gods that they saw come down from the sky were they were gods to them, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But they were they're just extraterrestrials that are more advanced and knew how to do more stuff than they did. But exactly. I fully believe it, and I actually drive a Pallades then. But
me too. I love it. I know that's what the their logo is. If you look at it, it's the stars.
Yeah, I mean, I can picture it. Yeah, it's interesting. I never heard of that, but
yeah, I love it.
Good to know.
Very cool.
Makes my car even more special, even though
it's even more cool, right? Exactly.
It's the only car company I ever really owned. So
I'm a fan for sure. So and in the book, it's there's a lot of kind of cool facts like that, that are revealed in this like cool quest through Mayan ruins, and all these clues, to how aliens were involved, and the etchings, and this shaman helps them figure this out and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool, the Mayan connection. But then it's like Egyptian, a lot of these megaliths and these places around the world that are just like impossible to have been created, by the primitive people of the time. It's fascinating, and how much they rely on the stars for their orientation, how they're built and things like that. So I think all of that is being revealed as well.
Yeah, I like the whole concept of it, because I've been hearing about this stuff from a lot of people, and I've always kind of had these ideas myself, and it's just funny that now this stuff's finally getting put in the books. When I was a kid, you couldn't find this in books. Like,
right.
It was just impossible, and I look forward to finishing your book. That's 100%. That's definitely something I'm going to be doing this weekend at some point. But
thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to make it all mainstream, where it's like it really starts to get out there, because the point is not only just entertain, it's also to help open people's minds in a way that we don't have the limited ways of thinking anymore, like in these little boxes, how we think, and just open ourselves up to the possibility that there are other dimensions, and that there are ways of being together. Because this race, this alien race, is just they're an inspiration for what we can be, and like a sister planet. In the book it says, the aliens are looking at Earth and going, "Oh, they're our brothers, our sisters, they're us," and it's true both ways. We could be them, and that's what's possible. And for us to hold a vision of where we can be is so important.
And Charles says, I hate to say it, but ET should be afraid of us, which sad but true, Charles.
Right. There's a whole scene in the book where the aliens have come and they're going to save the planet from the end of the world, right? The end of the Mayan calendar is the end of the world's about to happen, and they're going to save the planet. They're sitting behind the moon and they're figuring out who we are. They're watching all entertainment and news, and they're just like, "Oh my God," like, yikes. And they're freaking out that this is where they're going to have to land and, engage with people. And to them, it's like, I think, one of the lines is, "It's a snake pit down there," and it's a bit true of us, but I think, but we have are better angels in us. And that's what I'm trying to show is like, we can be more like these aliens and less like animals. Well, animals are actually nicer than we are often.
Usually, yes.
Yeah, we can be less like the egoic, completely caught in our ego, you know, Homo sapiens, and turn into what a lot of evolutionists call Homo universalis, the new human.
I haven't heard that before, but I like that actually.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, and Charles actually had another question. He asked if I think he means have you been to Dolce and spoken with them? I don't know where Dolce is. I want to say somewhere in the Southwest, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't know Dolce. I'm not sure who Dolce is.
You want to elaborate there, Charles? Or, but yeah, I mean, the Great Awakening definitely happened. Some people say it was 2017. Some people say it was 2012, but it definitely happened. I think it just depends when you start feeling it. That's
Yeah. Yeah, that transition from 3D to 5D, like where, because that's another thing that I saw in this downloads of meditations was I saw the Earth, this is very metaphorical because these things can't be really, put into simple terms otherwise. So it was shown to me that it's like this band's almost like a rainbow, like, frequencies of light, bands of light. And the earth is moving up through these bands, and that we were on the cusp of moving into a new band, new frequency. And so that's supposedly what happened in 2012 is we made that transition into 5D, but we're just baby at the bottom. And, and that's why everything's like, so nuts. Oh, a mountain in New Mexico.
Yeah, apparently Dolce is a mountain in New Mexico. I knew I heard the name, but
yeah. So I actually lived in Santa Fe for many years. I've been to northern New Mexico a lot, but I've never heard of Dolce. So yeah, I don't know that area. I know Los Alamos, and there's a lot I actually did see a ship in Santa Fe, just moving. I don't know what kind it was, but there was moving light in the sky, and several people saw it. It was at a friend's birthday party, and we were just, it was one of the times I was telling this story to a guy who's like this really amazing astrologer, quite well-known astrologer, all these books. And I was telling him the story. We were outside. And he didn't believe me. Of all people, this was back in, right after it happened. He was just like, no, that's not true. And I looked up and there was one right there moving. And I said, what do you say about that? And he's like, oh my God, it was so perfect. I feel like maybe Kaya came to my rescue. So yeah, that was cool because I've seen moving things a few times. That time I saw one we're driving from San Diego to LA, a very big one actually. Is there any others? Oh yeah, one in Crestone, Colorado, not too long ago. That was my last one. And that place is, full of people see them all the time. I don't know if you've heard of Crestone, but it is a trippy place with very interesting people.
I believe I've heard the name. I've heard of a lot of different places related to UFOs and extraterrestrials.
Yeah, it's one of those places that just has like all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I saw one there. So 3 or 4 other times I've seen just moving lights and in the sky, but never an experience like I had with Kaya again. I welcome it though. I would love to have another one.
Does she still try to contact you or?
Yeah, like last week, it was 2 weeks ago, she came to me, and it's random. I don't get to, I talk to her and to say like, come on down, and I would love to have much more of a relationship with her where she will, just guide me. I listen to people with their guides saying, do this, do that, like giving them specific, that would be amazing. But that's not my experience with her. But a couple of weeks ago, she came to me and she actually came into my body for the first time, like this energy of her just was inside of me, and I was crying my eyes out, like I couldn't stop crying. It was so beautiful. It was so profound, and that's when she had this gratitude for me. It was like she felt like this gratitude for me being here in this like density, like this, like that it's like, thank you for dealing with us, and kind of getting how intense it is to be here. So that was the last time I experienced her.
Well, I mean, we definitely would want to talk to you again in the future if anything, if they ever went to another level beyond that, even. But that's I mean, that's insane. That's insane. But I am jealous because I wish it was happening to me.
I wish it happened every day. I would love it every day, and I would love to have her be just like with me all the time. And yeah, it'd be amazing. I get so frustrated sometimes with the veil. It's like that there's such a heavy veil here sometimes, where it's just like, because I just would love to have that higher vibration and experience, and be, all of us to be in, really clear contact with other dimensional beings who have so much more freedom and wisdom and love, and, and just, so much to offer us. And I know more and more people are having that experience, so I'm grateful. A lot of people are, having NDEs, near-death experiences, and reporting them, and people who've had them in the past. So it's a lot of stuff opening up. But yeah, bring it on. Come on, Kaya, come to me.
Well, Charles actually had another question, and at the perfect time, Charles, because I was about to say this anyway. He wants to know the name of your book, so this is your chance. Why don't you just tell everybody where they can find your book?
Yes.
Where they can follow you if they want to follow you.
Yeah, it's called Awake: The Legacy of Akara, Akara. So Awake: The Legacy of Akara, and it is. You can look it up. It's on Amazon Kindle. It's on Audible, and you can get it as a paperback as well. Really proud of the paperback. Lots of cool images in there, and stuff. To see there, and the website is super cool. It's awakethenovel.com, and you can see my book trailer, which is really amazing. It's designed by Dan Schmidt, isn't it?
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. So it's super cool, and it's designed by Dan Schmidt, who created all the Samadhi films, which have like 30 million views on YouTube. And if you go to awakethenovel.com, the homepage, and it's right there. And then there's a section on there called Discover the World of Awake on the homepage as well. And there's different images, and you can click on them. And there's a lot of the symbolism and teachings and stuff there. So the website's really super fun. And on there, sign up for my newsletter, and you will get a PDF copy of my story with pictures and images. And so you'll get to see what a medicine wheel looks like. And so, that's all on the website. And then there's also everywhere you can buy it, which is a lot of places. So all the online, all the retailers you can get it at. So yeah, I'd love for any feedback. Please, please, please let me know what you think. Email me. I'd just love to hear what you guys think about the book. It took me eight years and a writing partner to finally write. I have two other books published by Random House. I wrote first because I knew I did not have the chops to pull off an awakened civilization epic sci-fi adventure. So I wrote other things that were much easier to write, and they beautifully got published. And so you can just look up my name too, Dayna Dunbar, and check out all my books. But this one is the one that took me, was the whole reason I started writing. And it took me 8 years to go from first draft, right, starting the first draft to getting it out into the world. So it's like definitely my baby. So I would love for you guys to check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yes, please do check it out. And I will ask this: do you have any possible ideas for a sequel? It
Oh
does well
yeah.
enough?
Well, the thing that I'm kind of most excited about now is a prequel, because in the book, the Akaran civilization is 1,000 years. It's like the setting of the book is 1,000 years after they went through the ravaging era. And so their ravaging era, it was like basically what we're going through now. And so, and it was just like they almost killed each other off. They were on the brink of extinction. There was enough people called the wise ones left the madness and the war and the fighting and the greed, and went to vital zones across the planet, what's called vital zones, and did awakening practices together in community. And then enough of them woke up, and certain percentage, they crossed a threshold in consciousness that it caused a spontaneous awakening across the planet. And that's called the rebirthing. And so it's 1,000 years after the rebirthing started. And so I want to go back and write about the transition from the ravaging to the rebirthing era. And like the whole origin story of how did they get to be these awakened light beings. And so that's the prequel. And then I do want to write a sequel to the to this story as well. That's what I'm
Beautiful.
hoping. Yeah.
That's what I was hoping you would say, is that there'd be more. But because I definitely can't. From what I read in this one already, I want to finish it, and I would hope there'd be more coming out. It's funny. I've read so many good books just from hosting this podcast and reading the material of the people I talk to. It's just amazing.
Right. Yep. That's cool. Very cool. It's wonderful that you're doing this, Jeremy, really. And, sharing people's stories and getting this out there and sharing people's, work that they're putting into the world, and really appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I want to thank you for coming on today, Dayna. It's been amazing. And I can't wait to get this episode out.
Yeah.
But all my listeners know where you can find me. So I'm on all the socials. Just search Paranormal the New Normal.
Yes.
Other than that,
Thank you.
Thank you, Dayna, for coming on. And I will see all my listeners
Yes.
in about half a week. Thank you
All
all,
right.
and have a good day.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dayna.